Right, if you haven't seen the first part of my interview with the crew from Treading Water, it's on the channel now, go and check it out. But we're just going to crack straight into it, guys. Thanks again for your time.
Yeah, no, thank you.
We left off briefly talking about Danny's OCD. So, Joe did a really cool job with bringing that to life. Was there a lot of research done to make sure that the tics and quirks were real and organic? Did you bring in a therapist to consult, or what was the...
Yeah, actually, I did talk to a therapist, and she read the script, and obviously there was stuff I did get wrong, stuff more to do with actually the therapy sessions. So then we amended the script and worked with her, and obviously the final one was after consulting her. In terms of the tics and stuff, I feel like it was from reading, reading about Tourette's and OCD. So I read about this girl with Tourette's and OCD, and you just kind of learn about the stuff that sometimes they're like urges for them to do something, and but they're still quite clever at hiding it. And I think it's not that Joe hid it, but it wasn't over the top, was it? He knew he had to do these certain things, so he would just get them done. And I felt like he did it in a way that wasn't huge or big, and I think that's real. I think that's that is real, and that, from what I've researched in terms of reading and chatting to a therapist, that's what's real.
Yeah, the therapy sessions, especially I think the second one, I thought was really damn well done. Like when he's talking about all the horrible things he wants to do, and the therapist turns around and goes, "Well, no, you're clearly fine, because just the thought of this is making you uncomfortable." And the way that he used heroin to kind of balance out his tics, this is what I mean. It just added to the realism of your movie, which is what made it so damn good. And actually, on the note of it being damn good, I wanted to do this off camera, but I think it'll make for a nice moment. Just read this out for me. I want to get a natural reaction from you both on camera here. Start at 10 and read up to 1.
Sky Peels, Inside Out, Alien, Romulus, Cyborg, a documentary, June 2, The Iron Claw, Civil War, Poor Things, Living in Two Worlds, Treading Water. Mate,
one movie of the
incredible.
Oh, we better than Poor Things.
So I said this to Chris. This is a story I wanted to share with you, actually. I said this to Chris off camera, obviously. I was sent a screener for your movie. Obviously, world premieres tomorrow. My wife didn't want to watch it. She very quickly picked up, because we just had a kid. She very quickly picked up. She said, "This is going to get heavy." I went, "Yeah." She went, "Enjoy it. I'm not emotionally ready," which is fine, fresh off the pregnancy. And I told her, "Fucking, there's something special." But when the credits rolled, and you've got to appreciate, I'm completely alone. I'm watching this on my screen. No one's there. I, for some reason, decided to speak out loud to myself, and I went, "Shit, I think we got a new number one."
Wow.
And Poor Things was, until 48 hours ago, Poor Things had been my number one since January.
I mean, I love Poor Things. I thought that was an incredible film.
It's so good. But Poor Things, there are things I could pull apart with it. But this is being very finicky and pedantic. But when it comes to your top movies of the year, it becomes, fine margins of what makes the top, right? I'm struggling to find fault in your film.
In all honesty, because obviously, it's just great hearing that. It's
incredible.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.
I've only ever said Jaws. Jaws is the only perfect movie I've ever seen. Let's be real, it's freaking great. But I really struggled at the end of Treading Water to find fault in it. And as I said, I'm there in my living room. I've said out loud, "Shit, I think I've gotten you number one of the end." Before I said that, I just went, Like, I applauded with no one else in the room. It's such a great movie.
It's why we made the film, really, isn't it? It wasn't ever about, fame or money or anything like that. We wanted to tell a story, and we wanted to impact people, and we knew that the subject matter was going to be an impact that was hard to take, but we wanted people to go away feeling something. Yeah. And to hear that, it just makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah.
So,
well, you took me on an emotional ride, because there was a point about an hour in, because it's a heavy movie, so it does drain on the soul. And about an hour in, I was like, "Oh, this is heavy. Like, have I got much longer of this beautiful but mental torment to go through?" And I sort of touched my trackpad on the computer, and it was only an hour through. I'm like, "Oh, these guys are taking me for a ride." There was a point. This is the only criticism I have, and then you fixed it in the third act. I was like, there was a point just before where he did his night out with, was it Rob?
Yeah.
Just before his Bender night out, where it slowed down a little bit, and then you decided to turn the crank on me with that scene at the end. Tap, 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 tap with Warren. That was unbloody bearable, that tension.
Did you know it was coming?
No. I thought he'd got away with it, and that's why I think this is such a great movie, because something as innocuous as the girl originally doing tap 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 when Warren first walks in after Danny's been there the first time, and Warren catches that, and I thought you were playing with me then. I was like, oh, is he going to ask more questions about this?
Yeah.
And you just kind of left it. The fact that you made me forget about that, this is the genius of the movie.
You did forget about it? Wow, okay.
Because you took me on another ride. You took me on his night out. You took me on the Happy Birthday Danny. Like, you took me on a kind of relevant adventure that stepped away from that. Then you went full circle at the end. And that's why I love your film so much. Like, you tricked me into forgetting. And I watch a lot of movies, as I said.
How good was Warren in that as well?
Who played Warren?
Darren Connolly.
Okay.
Darren Connolly.
Brilliant.
Yeah. He's unreal.
Brilliant.
It's one of my favourite performance moments in the entire film, and he actually doesn't do anything.
Quiet.
He watches.
Scary.
You just know what's going on in his head through a flicker of the eyes, and that's it. But that just moves you as an audience member with the slightest of things. I love that moment in the film.
No, it does. And I almost, despite the fact that he's a horrible man, he's pimping out his pregnant girlfriend. I'm like, you subhuman, you awful man. There's a point you almost feel sympathy for him.
Yeah, because he's a layered human being, isn't he? Yeah. You could even argue what's he been through? What has Warren been through? And that's the theme of the film. What has everyone been through? Obviously, Danny's number one, but you could, obviously he's a horrible man, and it's very difficult, I think, for Warren to come back from where he is in his life. But I would imagine he might have been in and out of care and all sorts. You can
abused himself as a kid. Like this.
You think there's lots of layers, and sometimes he is trying to get on with people. He's almost trying to show off, Warren, isn't he? He's trying to suck them in and bring them in. And I think at some point he was trying to get. I actually, in my opinion, people will take different things from it, but I actually think there was a bit where, in the pub, I don't think he was. I think he was trying to get on a level with Danny.
So do I. That's exactly how I interpreted that. It was exactly that pub scene which was making me say just now that you almost feel sympathy for him.
Because it's remorse at the end as well. After what happened, and I'm not saying you can understand it because you or I wouldn't do this, but he's had a heavy night.
He's a human being,
and something has happened between his partner and somebody else, and he flashes, and then he feels remorse. Doesn't excuse it, but it's not black and white. Humans are grey, and that's really what we wanted to show in this film. That nobody's a villain, nobody's a saint. It's shades of grey for everybody throughout the film, and that's real, and that's what we wanted to show.
Because you don't just have your typical bad guy, do you? It's a different vibe, and it's trying to be, and that's across the board with every character. Like what Ben just said.
And it just, I think the movie, whether you meant to do this or not, it just said so much about. Indirectly about the court of public opinion. It's like, because if you hold a cross-examination of someone like Warren up to, I don't know, the Guardian or the Telegraph or the News, he's going to be vilified in 2 seconds. People are not going to spare a second thought, like we're discussing now, for hang on, what's he been through? How did he get to this stage, right? He's an instant villain. Your film has got so much social layering to it, which It's a thinker.
What's Danny? Oh, sorry. What's Danny? I was just. Yeah. What's Danny been through? Like what's Laura been through? And that's the point, isn't it? Look at what they've been through. And then there's some degree of empathy. Yeah. Even Rob, you see that he's always on the wind up, isn't he? But actually, that's all he's got left. Yeah. You know,
Rob's tragic story too. Jesus. Yeah.
Actually, there's a little thing about that. That wasn't in the script. That wasn't.
That was all Daryl.
That was improved. So that was backstory, and it come in, and we.
Wow.
It's cool, isn't it?
So that was improv.
Absolutely.
It was actually improv. Do you know when it was improv? In the audition. Mm-hmm. So the first improv was in the audition with that, and then we just said, "Yeah, chuck that one in again, mate. You got to do that. You got to do that."
It's funny. We were talking about Jaws before. You got your Indianapolis moment there, didn't you?
That's crazy. That's crazy. Now, I also want to talk about like your setups and your camera work in this,
because when he steps out of prison, you've got this wonderful shot, like right at the beginning of the movie, and I thought, Jesus, if this is the type of movie I'm in for, this is going to be good. You've kind of got it 30 degrees off, so it's not flat. I think you're using a wide angle, and you're making the prison walls seem enormous and Danny look about that damn big. Yeah. And obviously, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think what you're trying to do is, despite the fact that he's out, the world's going to basically swallow him now.
Yeah, that is the vibe. That is the vibe. I felt like. I mean, in some ways, we didn't get enough of those vast shots, like what you're talking about, where you're making people look small and the world look really big, and because I think you could. That's a really good analogy what you're saying, and I feel like in some ways we could have even done more of that. But
you went down the other route where like he's out of one prison and he's into another small room, so it worked in that sense too.
It did work, yeah. I mean, in the end though, with the camera stuff, we had to put performance at the top, and I think what was great with Sam Cronin as a cinematographer is he really wanted to tell the story and wanted to work in that way. So we discussed the Dallas Buyers Club, and apparently I don't know if this is true, but apparently they just use practical lights and just have it was like 360. Yeah. So the performers could do whatever they wanted. We maybe didn't do that, but we had that in mind. You know, we wanted to give as much freedom. So sometimes, and we shot on 2 cameras all the time. So it was always 2 because we knew that we were going to impro into scenes. Like I say, impro in the middle and impro out. So we knew that we could cut away. So it was great having a cinematographer that embraced all that, yet was still really creative and took on board those ideas.
Yeah, I mean, the cinematography was brilliant. As I told you earlier, check out the previous interview, you really could smell the pea in Piccadilly. And that's something I want you to talk a bit about now, because I think it's really interesting, and you get this a lot with British cinema. Tony Scott did this, R.I.P. the late great Tony Scott had a very distinctive kind of gritty style, like you knew when you were watching a Tony Scott movie. What's the technique involved in doing what I just said, in making sure that the world feels so lived in that it's jumping off screen? Like, how do you create that? How is it you're able to make an audience member like myself smell the pea? What's the technique?
So I think it's about being instinctive. So I think it's about knowing that on this shoot you've got to be instinctive, you've got to capture those moments, and actually you've got to look around your environment where you are. And so because we were in real environments that actually they did stink a bit, in all honesty. I mean, all right, here's an example. You know the phone box when Danny's phoning his dealer? Yeah. That was covered in real human wee. Yeah. And I was the one who had to clean it all off. Because I didn't want to give anyone else that job, because it seems so.
You would have given it me, but I wasn't there that night.
but and credit to Joe for going in there, no bother, and that was the thing. We said to Lewis, who's on second cam as well, and Sam, anything you see, capture those moments, texture the film. We want this film to be full of textures, and then in terms of performances. obviously your first few takes, they're on bang on script. They're quite, sometimes you'll use them as well, don't get me wrong, but they're quite sort of like steady, set. But then you say to the actors, actually go off piste, I want you to change every single word. Still saying the same thing, not every single word, but change every line a little bit. And then you're saying to Sam, and I want you to, we'll just do one camera now, I want you to be free and just capture these moments, capture what's going on. And I think it's having the trust in the operator and the trust in the actors to be instinctive.
I think it's really important though, Gino, to go back to something you said, and the trust is in this man as well, and the energy on the set, because he just dropped it into conversation, but he went in as a director, like the biggest, most important person on set, with some wipes and wiped the piss and the telephone box. There isn't many directors who do that. They would send somebody else in.
Spielberg wouldn't do that, would he?
Because of that, though.
Continue doing that.
No, you wouldn't. He wouldn't ask somebody else to do something that he wasn't willing to do himself, and that creates a trust and an energy and an atmosphere within the cast, and that's something we both tried to foster, doing in the trenches every day, and that gives people the trust and the energy to be instinctive, to know that we're all in this together, and to throw themselves even more into the part.
Me and Ben were creatively on the same page as well, which was fantastic. I mean, he's an incredible producer, and he gets everything done. You know, like, we needed a prison, and it was so tough to find it. And Ben,
that I wanted to talk to you about. How the hell did you film that?
So it is. Ben found it, and well, you talk about it. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's the prison that they shot Time with Sean Bean and
great series on
and Stephen Graham. So you wrote the script, there was a prison in it, and we just had to do some research, and we got in touch with Shrewsbury Prison. It is they'd recently closed down in the last 10-12 years, and so it's a tourist site now, but they also rented out to filmmakers, and we found it and we got in touch. And big credit to Shrewsbury Prison, because they'd had Time in there very recently. Even when you go in, there is the mannequin of Stephen Graham, sort of. They're trying to sell it to filmmakers, and they're trying to make some good money from doing this, because people need to film in prisons. We didn't have good money. This was a self-funded independent film, so it's kind of how you go about this independent filmmaking. You beg, you explain, you tell, and fair play to them. They loved the story. They wanted to support, so we were able to come to an arrangement with limited hours. We could get in there, and they would support us. I don't want to say financially, but certainly in terms of what they were willing to offer. And it was a great experience. I've still got pictures on my phone. We had to put loads of smoke in there at the start of the film, and all the smoke alarms were
was looking at the bricks.
But the only way we could get the smoke alarms to not work was to set a fire. So we lit a fire in the cells, myself and the gaffer, and all the smoke alarms started blaring throughout the prison. I've got pictures of him with like some wood on a stick, holding it above the sensors. I mean, it's just a little story that you realise, but it was very much like the whole shoot. We knew, because we're on a limited budget and people were helping us, we couldn't take the piss, so we had to be in for a short spell. So we had to get in, be sharp, be quick with our shots, and get out. And again, testament to Gino and the crew that we could, to the best of our ability, even though he tries to
as well. The fairground. I mean, that wasn't actually shot in Manchester.
Okay.
That's the only, well, Shrewsbury, I suppose, as well. But in general, everything's in Manchester. But and we had to actually go back. So we shot in May, June, July, wasn't it?
First few days of July.
First few days. But then, obviously, it's really bright and fairground. We wanted a dark fairground, so we had to go and do a pickup day. Was it like
October?
But yeah, Ben just chatted to the people at the fairground. I went down and seen it, and it's being very resourceful. I think that's the key. It's just being very resourceful and getting these things done. Like, even up on, I know it shouldn't be difficult, but on the top of the multi-story car park, me and Sam are going round going, we want this one. And he gets it. And,
but that's a testament to the people that believed in the story. Okay, you could say it's the way you sell it to them, but actually you don't have to sell the story. Like, you tell them, we're trying to tell a story about real people that are struggling in Manchester, and the locations that represented real people in Manchester wanted to be part of this. I can't even know how you pronounce this correctly. Is it the car park. I should get this right because they gave it us for free. But all he said was, I spoke to one of the directors, and he said, you can use it for free. Just give a donation to the homeless in Manchester, please. I mean,
so good.
Amazing. And then they shut that. So we did, and they shut down the car park on the top, and we shot all night, and we had some absolutely great shots from it. And that's an example of the people in the local community really supporting the project, believing in the story, believing in the message you're trying to tell about the real people of the city.
So this actually brings me on to the question I asked you off camera before, and you're in. I want to hear what you have to say. You're seeing all of these people come on board and seeing the bigger picture, which is we're making a shit hot movie here. At what point did you know you were making a really good movie?
When we read the top 10 list.
You know the... Give me that. You know the script's good.
Obviously you're seeing it, but there's plenty of good scripts out there. This is my #1 movie of the year, guys, and I know I'm one of millions, but this is a seriously good movie. There must have been a point where the light bulb went and you went, oh, we're onto something here.
Sorry to this, but I just think you're always sort of second guessing yourself. There's always doubts.
Interesting.
Gino has always been second guessing this because he's a
Kind
perfectionist.
of like, you know what you're doing? You're trying to get the best out of every single day. So you're trying to be as creative on every single day, and that's what you're going for. So I suppose I thought we're getting good stuff. I love the performances. I love what we're getting. You know, I think we're being true to what we discussed, which was real performances, stuff that's going to move people, and stuff that the actors get right into and get right into the characters. I thought we were getting that early doors, to be honest. I'll be honest, even in the edit, you're second guessing yourself, because I edited the film.
You edited it?
I edited it, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
He's not a control freak at all, you know?
yeah, I don't know. Like, I even you saying that now, I mean, yeah, you don't think, like, in all honesty, I'm just glad we made the film. I'm buzzing we made the film, and I hope lots of people feel like you do, obviously, but I just hope loads of people watch it, and I don't know if that will happen. You see,
You don't know, do you? But this goes back to what we were saying off camera before. It's that there's so many movies being made now. But guys, I'll tell you this, because I know you've got to go, but I'll tell you this: I will champion this film for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Every single person I meet who gives me that boring soundbite of they don't make original movies anymore. You seen Treading Water?
Thank you.
Honestly, like...
I think there's a lot of filmmakers out there who've had, because it's your first proper feature, isn't it?
It's my first feature, yeah.
I think there's a lot of filmmakers out there who have made more movies than you who wish they could make a movie like this. Honestly.
Thank you, mate.
This is a seriously good movie. And I think it's going to age like a fine wine.
Wow.
I think people are going to look back in 10, 20 years' time, just the same way Lock, Stock had no marketing.
But yeah, look how that movie's aged. Look how people revere Lock, Stock.
Man, it nearly
Was
didn't get
there
made.
a moment in Lock, Stock, was it when, did Tom Cruise see it, and then that's when
I didn't, honestly.
So
I
I'm
don't
sure
know.
someone said that it got in a festival, Tom Cruise seeing it, and then that was the end of it. It blew up. I don't know if that's absolute nonsense, but
No idea.
Yeah.
But what I do know is that I think this movie is going to be spoken about for years to come.
This is a I don't drop the M word lightly. I think this is a quiet masterpiece.
Wow.
oh, cheers, Nico.
Thank you so much.
Really.
Appreciate
Thank you.
Watch it.
If you haven't seen it, watch it. I can't thank you enough.
that. Lovely meeting you, mate.
Really good. Thank you so much.
Cheers.